Hey, it's me, Normal Corey, here. Gonna make some beats live on my MPC Live 2. And if you're a beat maker, you wanna make beats outside, you're just trying to learn the MPC software, this does apply to all of the MPC 3 software, which is great. So I'm here today and I'm gonna talk to you about my top 10 favorite plugins on the MPC Live 2. All MPC Live plugins, basically. Cool thing about this device is that it's essentially like a computer on the go, which is great. Can make beats with a lithium-ion battery. I can go anywhere and make beats with it. It's amazing. All right, so right here we have this beat, and we just basically have the drums and the bass playing, but if we go in and we check it out, on our bass, we have the mother ducker. And if we see this little ducky, whenever it bounces, it represents that the sidechain compressor is coming in. Let's go back to our, drums. Let's click on here. Anytime the kick plays, it's the input. So on the kick, we have the mother ducker in. So that input is basically what's controlling the sidechain compressor. And that is my favorite plugin. I use this plugin on every single beat. I was actually joking around with my girlfriend. I was telling her, hey, you haven't seen the ducky, have you? And she's like, what? And I've been making these videos. I was like, you don't understand how important this ducky is to me. I've been using this ducky every day and you've never even seen it. All right, so the next plugin that we're gonna do, let's go ahead and let's just put this on the output, on our main output. And this is called Flavor Pro, and you are gonna have to pay for this one, but I highly suggest it. You can buy it from MPC, but yeah, let's go down into, where's this freaker at? Okay, so we go into the harmonics, we do the Air Pro, the Air technology, Flavor Pro. Oh, why is it not? I'm unable to hear it as of right now, but let's figure this out. So let's delete that and let's look at all of our outputs. Everything should be running out of 1 and 2. So looks like, yeah, everything's running out of 1 and 2. So we should be able to go, let's go to our outputs and let's go to output 1 and 2. Maybe let's arm it. Let's say effects and let's do Flavor Pro. Right here, let's select it. Ah, now we can hear it. And it's great. There's just a lot of different lo-fi effects in the Flavor Pro. And it has some pretty cool ways to change the distortion. You can change the intensity on it. Lots of different presets. I really like this one. It's a VHS effect. And there's lots of different effects you can have for your bass, your drums, everything. But yeah, I really love this effect, and this is one that I use on a lot of my different beats. The next thing, this one is also a paid plugin, but I'd highly suggest you get it. It's the Flex Beat Player. So let's go into the Flex Beat Player. Right now it's empty, but it has all these little chops, and it has all these different ones. Let's go to either of the turntablist. So that's really cool. You could do those momentary effects, bringing those in and out, which is really great if you're trying to add some live effects to your mix, which is incredibly awesome. So the next one we're gonna say, let's go into the different delay. Now this is my favorite delay in the MPC. You go to Air Pro, let's go to different delay. And I just like the delays that are in there. My two favorite delays are the slapback. If we bring less, if you listen to Elvis's vocals, he uses a lot of slapback delay on his vocals. So I think it sounds really cool. Sounds really, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm in space or something. I also really like Melodic Companion. And you can just bring a little bit of that in, but I noticed that adding the delay like that, it just adds a really great feeling of space and you can also bring it in and automate those effects, which I'll do future videos on automating these effects. Comment below if you would like me to do that. All right, so let's go to the next effect. Let's delete that one. And the next one I'm going to say is the tuner. So I think the tuner is really great for vocals, but let's just apply it to everything because you're able to do it. But the tuner is basically an auto tune. And you can control how quick it is to come in. So this isn't the key of the effect, but there's also some really crazy sounding ones. So let's do Baby Rapper. So yeah, those all sound bad on the main effect, but those are really good for vocals. I would say generally when you play them just raw over the vocals, it isn't as good sounding as you really want it to be. The real key is when you add that tuner and then you add delays and you add reverbs and things like that. That's when you can take your vocals and make them sound really professional, is whenever you combine the tuner with something else. When you just do the tuner and the raw vocals, I tend to say that it sounds, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It sounds kind of cheesy or something's wrong, something's not right with it. But if you think about The Weeknd or artists like that, artists that use a lot of auto-tune, a lot of rappers, T-Pain, they're often using that auto-tune and then they're mixing it with delays and other things. And once you do that, you can get a really cool mix. That's another thing that I can make a video on, which is basically trying to get your vocals to sound professional in the future. All right, so the next one, let's go in. My favorite is and this is a really great one to use on the effects or on the master effects, is the limiter. I love the limiter because we can go in here and let's say tighten. But yeah, this is a really great master effect, and this is something that if I was mixing in the computer, if I was mixing in Reaper, I would definitely be adding in limiters. But it's awesome that I can do this all in the box, which I can carry around everywhere. So the limiter is like a compressor, and it basically, if the sound waves are like mountains, it smashes the peak, and it just makes everything sound really, really loud. The danger of it is that you can take away some of the dynamics, but it's definitely one of my favorite effects, and I add it to all my masters because a lot of these things I want to perform live, and the goal is to perform things live. And if I can perform it live, everything from this device, and have it sound really professional, that is a huge victory from my end. All right, so the next one, I think my favorite, I was going to talk about my reverb, and I think my favorite is the Nonlinear Reverb. And I like this because there's just a lot of really strange sounding, let's see the soft lamb. Yeah, lots of really strange, and that would actually be a cool effect, but a lot of these things sound really cool when you minimize it, but that sounds pretty cool. That'd be a cool effect to bring in when I'm doing a live performance. But let's do less. Yeah, that sounds really great. So most of the time, I'm bringing these things down to 7%. That seems to be like a really good number. You might even do lower, and it's just going to add a little bit of flavor to your mix. It's going to make everything sound like, I normally don't do reverbs on individual tracks. I may do it as a momentary effect I bring in, but I'm normally adding it to the entirety of the mix just because I think that it sounds really good on the master mix because it makes like everything sound like it's being played in the same room, which is something most music has always sounded like. And sometimes electronic music can sound a little bit off because it all sounds different and kind of weird. So that's one of my favorite things. I love adding a little bit of reverb. So let's go ahead and delete that. The next one is, I just wrote it as slow down, but let's go in and let's see what it's actually called. So we'll go to harmonic. I think it's in here. No, that's not what it was called. Let's go to pumper. It's probably going to be in modulation. It's called half speed. Slow down, half speed. It's very similar. But I was like, I got to know that before the video. But here we are. We're doing it live. Oh, man. There's a lot of different presets in here. So I think the thing about that effect is that that effect sounds exceptionally great if you are doing it as a momentary effect. It might not sound, you might take a sample and run that through that, and there, boom, you have your new sample. But I would tend to use this and most of these, and in the future I'll do a video on automation and how to actually perform these live. But that's something that sounds really great. If you bring it into the beat, it adds a lot of variation and it sounds really cool. Now you could make a beat where the whole thing has that too. That might be a little bit overwhelming, might be too much, but that's pretty cool. So the next thing we're gonna say is distortion. And I really like adding the distortion onto, I like adding it onto basses in particular, but let's just do it on the whole mix. It's distortion amp. And it sounds kind of, wait, no, this isn't the right one. Let's delete that. We're gonna say distortion overdrive. Let's see, nope. I'm gonna find this. There's a distortion that I really like. Yeah, it's a amp simulator. So this is basically like all my friends that play guitar, play rock music. It's gonna emulate those basses that they play. Yeah, so I have to be careful with that because it might crush the entire mix, but especially if I just add it on to bass, I feel like it sounds really, really good, and it makes the bass sound really incredibly fat and brings it to the forefront. That's one thing I always kind of wondered. I was like, man, why do these rock basses always sound so grimy and good? And I think it's the distortion. So that's a plugin to be really careful with, but it sounds great. So the next effect that I think is really amazing is our equalizer. We need a great equalizer. Now they have a low pass filter and a high pass filter. So let's just do the high pass filter first. Since we're doing the master mix, I normally with the bass, I'm gonna do a low pass filter. The drums, I'm gonna do a low pass filter. Then with my melodic elements, I'm gonna add a high pass filter. And this is great for automating things live. So let's, but yeah, you see that difference? This right here, we have the high pass filter. So let's go ahead and add a low pass filter too. So we'll say low pass filter. And this is just pretty basic. Now, one thing I'll say, a piece of advice that my friend gave me in the past that was really good, which is be really careful with low pass and high pass. It can be a little easy to go crazy. And I would say, like, let's play it. A little bit goes a really long way. And I think whenever I'm listening to really great electronic music, I can hear those low passes on high passes, and a little bit can really elevate the mix. It can make it feel like you're rising up or you're flowing down. And that's a really good feeling. So it's important just to note that a little bit goes a long way. So these are 10 of my favorite plugins. Like and subscribe if you like what I just did. Comment down below what your favorite plugins are, or any of these plugins that I mentioned, your favorite plugins. What are the ones that I missed? As far as the things I talked about in the video, what do you think would be the best thing for me to make a video about next? I really, really appreciate your support so much. Trying to do these videos as much as I can, setting up my camera system. You know, the thing is that I make music every day, so I might as well just sit here and record myself doing it. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all soon in the next video.